A theory of motivation. What drives our students to succeed? My name is Robin Day. I will take you on a journey through my theory of motivation. So just what does drive my sonography students to do so well in such a difficult course? Motivation is a powerful driving force that pushes the learner towards accomplishing goals, and it's comprised of so many moving parts at any given time. Research on the subject suggests that it's extremely complex. It can be dynamic and constantly changing in the same learner. The strength of motivation is a function of the type and value of the goal selected. Svinicki's amalgamated theory resonated closely with me. I think it's because she agrees with me that motivation is actually a compilation or an amalgamation of several different theories. The first one is the value times expectancy model, and this was proposed by Eccles in 1983. The second is the social cognitivist theory, proposed by Bandura in 1977. And finally, she believes that there's an aspect of the goal orientation model that definitely affects motivation. This was first suggested by Dweck and Leggett in 1992. To quickly review, the value times expectancy model is essentially a math equation with two factors and one sum. Eccles believes that students must place value to what they are learning. If there is no value, there is no motivation. This has proven to be true in the sonography course where I teach. The second is expectancy. Students must have the confidence that if they put forward enough effort, they can actually be successful. But if they have no hope, they will give no effort, which will equal no motivation. It's easy to see when you look at this as a math equation that if either of the factors is zero, the sum or the motivation is zero. The second component of this theory is Bandura's social cognitive model, which suggests that people learn from each other through modeling and imitation. This tells me that my learners are extremely pliable and they can learn to value what I, as the subject matter, value. There's also a suggestion that learners are motivated by seeing members of their peer group succeed. The mentality is, if they can do it, so can I. Finally, there are some components of the goal orientation model. These authors suggest that how students approach a goal determines whether meaningful learning will take place. We would like students to value learning goals rather than performance goals. With a learning goal, the student is determined to master a new skill or concept no matter what, and the focus while they're learning is on improvement. Therefore, they welcome feedback and are willing to take risks if it leads to more meaningful learning. They view mistakes as a learning opportunity. Their counterparts with performance goals are only driven to demonstrate competency in comparison to peers. They're not willing to take risks. They want to practice in private and don't solicit feedback. They see mistakes as failures. So what does knowing all this theory tell me as an instructor? First, it tells me that I have to find a way to increase the value of the content of my course. It is my job to make the students care about it. Secondly, any task that is assigned should be challenging but doable. I am responsible for modeling the beliefs, attitudes, and skills that I wish to see in student sonographers. And I have to try to place value on learning goals rather than performance goals. One big way of doing this is to make the classroom a really safe place to learn. Another big component of my thoughts about motivation surround extrinsic versus intrinsic motivation. Extrinsic motivators, such as instructor praise, grades, and bonus marks, definitely help to get a behavior started, but they are definitely not enough to keep a behavior going over time. Intrinsic motivators must take over. So students have a responsibility to start developing self-efficacy and self-assessment skills. They must be able to motivate themselves. This is definitely the case in our program, which is very tedious and arduous. There is no way that you could make it through this program unless you had intrinsic motivation. Students often find that once they are successful, they are motivated to continue learning. When considering intrinsic motivation, I was forced to turn my attention to a practice that is done at BCIT. Do students really need a grade to perform their best? Grades are important to students, but are other factors, such as meaningful learning, enough? Well, at BCIT, we assign pass-fail grades quite a lot in the lab. I was challenged to see whether this was actually a good decision. Pass-fail grading schemes have been adopted by several medical and law schools, and the studies have shown that this has led to improved academic performance, improved overall student well-being, and a stronger focus on learning. How could that be? Well, I think it's because students are actually intrinsically motivated and they're setting learning goals, and just mastery of that goal is enough. Svinicki says that if we must assign a grade, then the criteria for grading should be absolutely so clear that the student feels like they are in control of the grade. Since I strongly believe that value is a huge component of motivation, it was important to look at what do students value. Sagunro did just that in 2014. He did a huge study to find out what factors influenced learning and motivation most significantly. He listed 8 qualities that were a repeated theme for students. I'm going to discuss the first 5. One was the quality of the instruction. Was the instructor organized? Were they current on knowledge? Did they use interesting technology? And did they possess personality traits like energy, empathy, and good communication skills? The second was the quality of the curriculum. Did the quality meet professional standards, and did it meet what learners needed to perform the jobs? Students do not want to waste time and money. Thirdly, students valued relevance and utility of material. Adult learners are very problem-focused, and they want to have a practical outlet for their learning. They need to know that there are specific measures for success. In fourth place was an interactive classroom with effective classroom management. It was important that the class became a community of learners. In fifth spot, they talked a lot about progressive assessments and timely feedback. I know for sure that this is valued by students at BCIT as we break sonography scanning down into small chunks and allow students to master these while we provide them with timely feedback. So knowing all of this, how will I use this in my classroom? The first is maintaining currency in industry standards and keeping up my knowledge base. I need to model for my students that continued learning over a lifetime is important. I need to use relevant technology in my classroom. I am so fortunate that BCIT provides the opportunity to use simulation, AR, and VR in our labs. Careful curriculum planning is important. Topics need to be strategically placed. Are students learning the concepts at the right time when they can apply them? We need to get students thinking about the course content and future implications. As an expert in the field, it is our job to make these connections for students. As a novice, sometimes it's difficult to see that. Finally, and very importantly in our program, provision of ongoing feedback with very specific measures for success is important. Finally, I would like to thank and acknowledge all of my references for helping me develop my theory of motivation.